This is a 1992 Mazda Miata. We bought this originally to kind of just as a shell, see if we could make, a little bit of money on selling a few parts off of it. It's a little rusty. We've had this for probably about 6-7 months. It's just been sitting around. We're gonna be doing a lot of things on this car that we wouldn't normally do for our own. And that was the kind of whole thing behind it, to step out of our comfort zone and see what happens, see if, we kind of like it or if not. There's nothing really good on this chassis. There's parts where it's been in an accident, there's rust, lots of paint fade, not a good chassis probably, but that's kind of why we're doing what we did. We are refreshing a 1.6 engine. So far we have done a full poly bushing kit all the way around, from diff, front and rear control arms, even the power steering. Since this is an NB subframe, we have the steering for that, so that's got poly bushing. So far we have changed the front and rear subframes to an NB out of an 03. We currently have a Mazda Speed rear diff. Right now the game plan is to get this one kind of up and running, or at least the engine in, because there's absolutely nothing in it besides a diff and some carpet right now. But to get an engine in, trans, get this thing running and out of the way, that way we could do everything else that's needed to get Chelsea's car done. There's a lot of stuff that we don't know how to do, but even knowing that, we're still going to try and do everything ourselves, because at the end of the day, I'd rather have a car that I could say, I built this, than I paid for it. Or at least I learned along the way. So currently I have Chelsea's old knuckles and bearings, really, off of her SR, put those into this. A car that I bought had some BC racing coilovers. Those are currently on here as well. Full poly bushings all the way around. Now, we just got done with the front, so we're going to be installing those here. So the game plan is for this to be kind of a fun daily, just kind of drive around, instead of having a Jeep that gets 12 miles to the gallon and a truck that gets 15 miles to the gallon. Something a little bit more fuel efficient and fun to drive. This is most likely going to be more of my car until I start my build, which technically this is, but isn't. But this is going to be a car that me and Chelsea can both just do whatever and learn stuff and go from there. Alright, so today I'm going to be mocking up the Fockitbunny kit for this. Now, it's not an actual Fockitbunny kit, so aligning up everything as far as like the height, where it exactly sits, makes it a little bit more difficult, because on the off-brand one there's not little tabs that go into the crease like the actual Fockitbunny kit does. So to combat that, I have an actual one that I could use. So this one is a legitimate Fockitbunny, and you can see it's got like little notches on the front and the back. That matches up with the body lines. So what I'm going to do is use this one to draw out exactly where it's going to sit. That way I have at least the right fitment. That's how high it's supposed to sit. And then with the cheap one, I'll just send it and throw that on there. So let's see how this goes. Again, the main reason why I'm using the actual Fockitbunny is because of the notches. It lines right up with the body line, so I know this is exactly where it's supposed to be. Now, I'll try and get the actual measurements once I have all this off, just to give you more of a rough idea if you do have a rep kit and you're trying to get it to the correct height. But for right now, since this is all kind of lined up, I'm just going to trace out where this one is. That way, when I go to put the fake one on, or the rep kit, I'm at least following the right line. I'm at the correct height. Now we're going to take this off and then throw on the rep kit just to make sure everything lines up correctly. So, like I said, there's no tabs for alignment on this. So you just kind of have to send it and hope that you're right. And that's the main reason why I did this. Because there's no ways for me to go like, oh, that's exactly where that sits. I can at least try and line this up. So already looking at this compared to the actual Fockitbunny kit, it needs to be pushed out a little bit to follow the exact same lines, but I don't really care about this car anyways. So we'll try and match it up as much as we can, but at least that right there gives us the correct line. And then what I'm gonna do is drill out some holes where the bolts are supposed to go, and then throw some self-tappers into this. This is just to help get my alignment correct, so that once I go to put it back in, everything goes to where I had it. Now the other thing that you want to take a look at and keep an eye out for is when you go to put this kit on, the very bottom of this front lip should begin to match up and become flush down here, because this is where I'm going to be cutting, and I'm going to be cutting out basically from here to about there. And if I remember correctly, it's about 1.5 inches either down or 1 inch up from the actual fender liner. So let's get this thing drilled and get it on there. The way I'm planning on doing this is trying to get it dead center, and then on these, because like I said, this isn't the exact same as the actual Fockitbunny kit, it's actually wanting to come in a little bit. I'm gonna press this out once I go to do the self-tapper into it. So for right now, the top actually looks about right. So let's send it. And then the other thing that you need to double check yourself on, if you're going to be drilling through this into the chassis, make sure that you're going parallel with it. Because on the Fockitbunny kit, it's like this, and if you do that when you go to do your well nut, you're going to be way off and the alignment's not going to work right. Get my hole started. And then I'm going to go parallel with the body. And next we're throwing in some self-tappers. Now, the reason why this one isn't going straight in is because behind it, it's kind of like this. There's an outer shell and an inner wheel well. So it's actually hitting that right now. What I really need to do is get in there with another drill bit and drill all the way through. But for right now, I'm just using it as a placeholder. So this one should go right in. So that one, at least on the top, is all done. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to drill out all the holes, and then we'll get that thing in. And that's why you buy an actual kit versus the cheap one. The fiberglass or resin that they had on here just completely cracked over. So I'll have to try and repair that. Definitely feels a lot thinner than an actual Fockitbunny kit though. Again, because this is a fake kit or a rep kit, it's definitely a lot more flexible, I would say. The other thing is it's a lot thinner and it's a lot more brittle, so just be careful with that in general. Now again, with this being a fake kit, you'll see it doesn't have that great of alignment. Now it should go with anything that you buy though, any body part, any bumper, whatnot, especially aftermarket or especially a rep kit, you're gonna have to do some body work to it because this piece itself is rough. So, and then also, just giving it a look, you can see how much it really makes it stand out. And the front has a spacer on it currently, and the rear doesn't. But it will be getting a spacer because God, it needs it. And then I'm going to do the exact same thing to the other side. But first, let's take this off and measure for what we're going to have to cut off.